So, yeah, been thinking about a few things. Happens a lot. I think often. I often think too much, but that's beside the point. I am nothing if not a little bit theatrical at times. I'm not sure why that is. I probably should have spent more time acting when I got out of high school and into college. I always liked acting, but let's face it, I am not what most people think of as leading man material. But you know what? Sometimes there's some joy in playing some character roles too. So maybe I should think about it some more. Not sure how to do that as an sort of an amateur. No actual no college degree, nothing like that to fall back on as far as relates to theater anyway. We'll see. Now, I was watching at work. They put the game on, the U.S. versus Portugal game, and we have a floor full of people who suddenly turn into gophers. They all just suddenly started turning and looking. Wait, what's going on? And you could sense the sort of pride that people had. Now most of these people are people who, maybe saw a soccer game when they were a kid, and otherwise probably never watched a game. But all of a sudden, they were, yeah. I saw this similar phenomenon when I was at Gen Con a few years back. I'm hanging out in a bar, actually with Ryan Macklin, of all people, and I and a few other people were sitting around talking in the bar, and or wherever it was. It was like there was a TV playing in the room, and this is Gen Con. This is not a place known for its great number of sports fans. This is not to say there aren't gamer sports fans, but percentage-wise, I'd say there'd be less in that community than in others. So we're sitting there and we're, talking and such, and the swimming competition at the Olympics was going on. What's his name? Michael Phelps, was just killing it. And you have people in the room just like, yeah, you go. You have to wonder, what's up with that? I mean, we are not, we weren't all like a bunch of major followers of collegiate athletics, so we probably never saw the guy before the Olympics. So, why? Patriotism? We always like to be supporting the guys who are perceived as part of our group. And this kind of line of thought brought me around to this notion of the difference between patriotism and something darker. Nationalism, I guess. Patriotism is where you're sitting around in a room and you're like, yeah, cheer on your guys. Nationalism is when you say, those guys are not with us. When you draw a line and say, well, we can't have this group because they are not us. That's, sort of where my brain was at this evening while I was watching that game at work. Is the best part is the patriotism, where you say, yeah, go us, that's awesome. It's when you turn it dark, when you say, and that other guy sucks. Or, that guy is not us. That you begin to turn towards, the terrible. And you see it in the gaming community. bring it back to the gaming discussions. There's a lot of folks who are like, I don't like this kind of game, and the people who play it are not us, therefore they suck. That's kind of terrible. Or, all the gamers I knew growing up were guys. And when the girl came in, they just ruined it. That sound familiar? No? Because I've certainly heard a version of that. How many of us have complained about the girlfriend player? I'll be honest. I've been that guy. I've been the one who complained. She showed up. She's the girlfriend. She dominates the game. She doesn't know what's going on. Blah, 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 blah. Rather than, she's a gamer. She may do it different than I do, but, okay. She's still part of the club. We do this. We do this about editions of games. I think that there's something to be said for the mentality of feeling proud of your group and feeling proud of the things you've gone through. That there's merit in that. It's when you turn it towards excluding or classifying someone else outside yourself as something other that begins to kind of turn and sour and what have you. Now, to sort of turn it around to a more positive note, or at least productive note, beyond the don't do that, that makes you an asshole, don't do that, I can sort of see the, understanding that concept making for a more interesting world design, I guess, for, doing your societies and what have you, is understanding the difference between national pride and something darker, and knowing where those lines get drawn can make for a much more complex and interesting society when you realize that some people are drawing that line at different points. You can do this in a fantasy game, you can do this in a sci-fi game, you can do it in a modern day game. It's just easier in the modern day game, right? It's easier. Because, we see it every day. And, we can take those lessons and we can use them to build a more interesting story in the worlds that we're playing in. There are some who will argue that we should maybe make our games more... utopian is not the right word, but more accepting, more welcoming. And to a certain extent, I agree with them. This does not mean that you can't deal with issues, real world issues in the game of context. But at the same time, you shouldn't use the game world design to exclude people. If somebody wants to play a female knight, you don't need to have your society necessarily be the kind of society where, women aren't allowed to be knights. First off, there were European examples of women knights. Not many, admittedly, but you're playing player characters, and player characters are always exceptional. So, find a way. Make it less annoying. History is filled with lots of annoying and stupid things that you don't have to include in your game. And it doesn't make you less interesting by changing those things. But that doesn't mean you can't deal with issues, real world issues, issues of our group versus the external group can be redefined and redirected in such a manner that it can still be interesting and compelling and very evocative of real world issues without having to turn it into, and I'm excluding that character concept because it involves something that wouldn't have worked in 14th century England in your perception because you are perfectly knowledgeable about history. Have female samurai, have pirate queens, and you can have black guys in a England type country because fuck it, it's not the real world. First off, second off, they did have those guys. People of African descent existed in Europe, so deal with it. Even if they were less common, adventurers are supposed to be less common. Make your world accept them. I don't know. This is me just rambling about trying to find the difference between yay our group and boo everyone else. Well. I'm done rambling. I will talk to you later. And subscribe, the usuals. I'll talk to you later. Bye.